So, you think you know the Zelda timeline? Today, we're looking at the single biggest lie that most Zelda fans believe, the so-called downfall branch of the timeline. Now, I hear you saying, what? How can that be a lie? It's from the official timeline. But hear me out, and by the end of this video, I'll have you convinced that the downfall branch is about as canon as Wand of Gamelon or Faces of Evil. Let's fall down the rabbit hole of the downfall timeline. And as always, spoilers ahead for the Zelda series. Now first, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what the downfall branch actually is. It had been known for years that the Zelda timeline split into two branches at the end of Ocarina of Time, the child branch and the adult branch. Link beats Ganon, Zelda and the sages seal Ganon away, and then Zelda sends Link back to his childhood, to before he ever opened the door of time. This created the child branch of the timeline, where Link never pulled the Master Sword, and Ganondorf never entered the Sacred Realm. Meanwhile, the future that Link left behind is still there. Link was gone, sent back to the child branch, but everyone else was still there, and life carried on in the adult branch. This understanding stood unchallenged for over a decade, but then everything changed when the Hyrule Historia attacked. Released back in 2011, the Hyrule Historia claimed to reveal, for the first time ever, the official Zelda timeline. But it was a mess, and many Zelda fans rejected it outright, which makes sense once you learn that it wasn't even written by Nintendo. It wasn't written by Aonuma, it wasn't written by Miyamoto, it wasn't written by anyone at Nintendo who would even be able to write the official definitive Zelda timeline. Instead, it was written by a third-party publisher called Shogakukan. They were the ones who actually wrote the Hyrule Historia and created the official timeline. Miyamoto and Aonuma contributed a foreword and afterword respectively, but the actual timeline itself, zero involvement. And let's not mince words here. The timeline that Shogakukan came up with is horrendous. There are so many factual errors and claims that contradict what the games themselves say, it's hard to know where to even start. But let's just look at their biggest and worst addition to the timeline, the downfall branch. Now, like I said before, it was known for years that Ocarina of Time split the timeline into two branches. Nobody ever even dreamed that there would be a third branch because there was literally absolutely nothing anywhere in any game in the entire series that suggested such a thing. But Shogakukan made one up anyway. So let's go over exactly what this supposed downfall branch claims. According to the Hyrule Historia, the downfall branch occurs when Link is defeated during Ocarina of Time and Ganon claims victory. This leads to the events of A Link to the Past, then the Oracles games, then Link's Awakening, A Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, the original Legend of Zelda, and Adventure of Link. Might sound good on paper, but there are so many things wrong with this. Let's start with the biggest issue. If Link is defeated, that's called a game over, and by definition, the story ends. Think about it, if there's more timeline after a certain event, that means the game continues after that event, but if you get a game over, the story doesn't continue. Think about how games like Prince of Persia or Assassin's Creed handle this. If the prince dies, the narrator says, no, that's not how it happened, and then you go back and do it over. In Assassin's Creed, if you die, the game tells you Ezio did not do that, and it basically kicks you out. By definition, if the hero dies, the story ends. But the thing is, we know the story doesn't end because there are other games after that. So we know that Link does not die. What's more, we see the child branch on screen when Link is sent back to his younger days. We see the adult branch on screen when Zelda is still there in the future after she sends Link back. But we never see anything at all that would support the existence of a third branch. No cutscene, no dialogue, no text, no lore, nothing. And anything asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So right out the gate, the downfall timeline is debunked because there is just zero evidence to support it. And it only gets worse from there. A Link to the Past starts out with Ganon sealed away and trying to break out, which proves that the hero was not defeated. The sages needed Link to bring Ganon to the very brink of death in order to seal him. If they were capable of doing it without Link, they would have, but they didn't. So the fact that Ganon is sealed away in A Link to the Past proves that Link had to have won in Ocarina of Time. And there's more. The royal family is alive and well in A Link to the Past, which would not be the case if the hero had lost. Remember, Zelda was right there during that final fight. If Link had fallen, Zelda is 100% dead. And since Zelda had no heir at that time, her death would be the end of the royal bloodline. Ganon's entire goal was to take the other two Triforce pieces, so if he was able to defeat Link, he would not hesitate to kill Zelda and take her piece too. But the fact that the royal family still exists in A Link to the Past proves that Zelda was not killed, which proves that Link was not defeated. For that matter, Ganon was too strong for the sages to seal even with only one Triforce piece. If Ganon defeated Link, he'd have 2 pieces and be even stronger. There is no scenario where the sages succeed after that. And remember, if Link dies, Zelda dies, and if the sages couldn't seal Ganon even with all 7 of them combining their power, they sure as hell aren't going to be able to seal him with one member dead, much less with one of them dead and Ganon now more powerful than ever from getting another piece of the Triforce. Now, some people say the sages got around this by sealing Ganon in the Sacred Realm instead of the Evil Realm like they had originally planned. But the Evil Realm is the Sacred Realm! They're the same! We are explicitly told that when Ganondorf entered the Sacred Realm, it became the Dark World / Evil Realm / whatever you want to call it, as a reflection of Ganondorf's evil heart. And besides, the point is he's too strong for the sages to seal, and that's going to be true no matter where they're trying to seal him. So sealing him in the Sacred Realm instead of the Dark World wouldn't help even if they weren't the same place. Furthermore, there is a huge misconception that almost all of the Zelda fandom suffers from about A Link to the Past. You're gonna call me crazy when you hear this, but hear me out and I'll prove it's true. Contrary to popular belief, Ganon does not have the full Triforce in A Link to the Past. Like I said, hear me out. For starters, if Ganon had the full Triforce, how is he locked away? If he had the full Triforce, he could just wish to be free and then conquer Hyrule at his leisure. The fact that he needs to weaken the seal with the sage's descendants proves irrefutably that he does not have the full Triforce. And if he did have the full Triforce, how did he lose to Link? If he really did have it, he could just wish for Link to be dead. And even without using a wish, possessing just one piece of the Triforce was enough to take him from a decently competent sorcerer to a literal demon king. How much more powerful do you think he would get with 2 pieces? And with all 3, he could just blink in the hero's direction and he'd turn to dust. So the fact that Link is able to defeat Ganon also proves that Ganon did not have the full Triforce. The Triforce itself actually also explicitly tells us that Ganon never made a wish. It says he was preparing to make his wish come true, as in he hadn't already done it. And if he had the full Triforce, there's no reason why he wouldn't have already made his wish. So the fact that he hadn't made a wish means he didn't have the full Triforce. Now, some of you are probably thinking about another thing that the Triforce says. Ganon's wish was to conquer the world. People try to argue that this means Ganon did make a wish, conquering the world. But what the Triforce actually says is that Ganon's wish was to conquer the world and that this turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. But we already know for a fact that it was Ganondorf entering the Sacred Realm during Ocarina of Time that made it turn into the Dark World, not him making a wish. Sheik tells us that the Sacred Realm is a mirror that reflects what is in the heart, and if a heart of evil enters it, the Sacred Realm will become full of evil. And that after Link opened the Door of Time, Ganondorf entered the Sacred Realm and became the Evil King, and the Sacred Realm became a world of evil. So the Sacred Realm actually turned evil as soon as Ganondorf entered it, before he ever so much as laid a finger on the Triforce, not as a result of Ganon possessing the full Triforce and making a wish on it. And immediately before this line, the Triforce explains that if someone with a good heart touches the Triforce, it will make his good wishes come true. And if someone with an evil heart touches it, it will make his evil wishes come true. Which matches up with what Sheik said about the Sacred Realm reflecting the heart of the one who enters it. Sheik says that the Sacred Realm reflects the heart, and the Triforce says the Triforce reflects the heart. But either way, they're both saying the same thing, that Ganondorf merely having an evil heart caused the realm to turn evil as soon as he entered it. Not that it was him making a wish that turned it evil. So it's not that Ganon possessed the full Triforce and made a wish on it to conquer the world, but rather that that was the wish he held in his heart, as in the desire he held in his heart. We need to realize that wish can be a noun, meaning a strong desire or want, or a verb, meaning the actual act of making a request. Ganon had an evil wish in the noun sense, an evil desire in his heart, and that turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. He didn't make a wish in the verb form upon the full Triforce. The Triforce says Ganon wanted to conquer the world and that this turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. This makes perfect sense if you understand wish to mean desire in this context. Like, his desire was to conquer the world, and his evil desire turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World when he entered it. But if you understand it to mean wish in the verb form, like he had made that wish on the full Triforce, how does that outcome make any sense? If he said, "Triforce, grant my wish, I wish to take over the world," then how the hell does that result in the Sacred Realm becoming the Dark World? That's not what he wished for, not even in like a monkey's paw, be careful what you wish for kind of way, where it technically grants what you asked for but not what you actually meant. And even if you wanted to argue that the Triforce was being like, well, you didn't specify which world you wanted to conquer, so I'm making this world evil, it still doesn't work, because turning the Sacred Realm evil doesn't mean he's conquered it, it just means it's evil now. And again, we already know that the Sacred Realm turned evil as soon as Ganondorf first entered it back in Ocarina of Time. So the Triforce can't be saying that it was Ganon making a wish on the full Triforce that turned the Sacred Realm evil. At the end of the day, the simple fact is this: if Ganon had actually made his wish, Link would be dead, Zelda would be dead, Ganon would rule the world, and there wouldn't be a game to play. But there is a game to play, so we know Ganon never made his wish. But there's even more. Look at the final battle in A Link to the Past. You defeat Ganon and he just dies. And then you go into another room, and then the Triforce appears and speaks to Link. It doesn't appear from Ganon or come out of his body or anything, which is what would happen if he actually possessed it. Compare this to every other game where this is what happens. The original Legend of Zelda, you defeat Ganon and he drops the Triforce of Power because he had it, like in his possession. In Wind Waker, we see the Triforce of Power physically leave his body because he had it. In Twilight Princess, we see the Triforce leave the back of his hand before he dies because he had it. A Link Between Worlds, we see the Triforce of Power come out of Ganon's body just before he's forced to fuse with Yuga because he had it. But in A Link to the Past, nope. Rather than appearing from his body when he's defeated, instead it's just kinda off somewhere else on its own, not in his possession. This is in complete contrast to every other game. So what really makes more sense here? That this one game just randomly does it differently from every other game for no reason, with no explanation? Or that he didn't actually have the Triforce in his possession in this game? And when you add on all the evidence we discussed earlier, the fact that he's sealed away, the fact that Link is able to beat him, the dialogue from the Triforce, the dialogue from Sheik, the fact that he hadn't made a wish yet, with all of this together, it becomes an undeniable truth that Ganon did not possess the full Triforce during A Link to the Past. Which also means that A Link to the Past cannot take place after the hero is defeated, because if the hero is defeated, then Ganon would possess the full Triforce. The Downfall branch is flat out wrong. And what's even crazier, they actually made it more wrong over the years. When Nintendo released the Zelda Encyclopedia in 2017, they changed the timeline, switching Link's Awakening in the Oracles games. Which is nuts, because the games themselves explicitly show us what the correct order is. This is one where we don't have to guess, the games show us. At the very end of the Oracles games, Link sails off in a boat. And at the beginning of Link's Awakening, we see the same Link sailing the exact same boat. Same size, same shape, same number of sails, same ropes and rigging and everything. In the Link's Awakening cutscene, he has the sails tied up because he's in a storm, but it is still pixel for pixel, the exact same boat. So Link's Awakening picks up immediately after the end of the Oracles games. And yet the official timeline claims that Link's Awakening comes first. And again, they had it right the first time and then they changed it to be wrong. Oh, and the timeline from the Zelda Encyclopedia wasn't written by Nintendo either. There's also the fact that in both versions, the official timeline claims that Ganon is revived or resurrected during the events of A Link to the Past, but Ganon can't be revived because he wasn't dead. If the official timeline was correct, it would say that Ganon was released or unsealed or that he broke free or something. And maybe you could excuse this as a translation error in the first version from the Hyrule Historia, but then they kept it the same way in the second version from the Zelda Encyclopedia. This is such a basic detail to get wrong. It is a wonder to me that anyone takes the official timeline seriously at all. So let's recap. The Downfall branch claims that the hero is defeated, which would end the story, but also claims that there's more games after that. We explicitly see the child and adult branches in-game, but we never see any evidence for a third branch anywhere. A Link to the Past starts with Ganon sealed, which would be impossible if Link was defeated. The royal family still exists in the Downfall timeline, which would not be the case if the hero lost. The Downfall branch claims that the hero is defeated, which would lead to Ganon having the full Triforce, but we've proven that Ganon does not have the full Triforce during A Link to the Past. The Downfall branch claims that Ganon was brought back from the dead at times where he wasn't dead to begin with, and the Downfall branch gets more incorrect as time goes on. Let's face it, the only downfall here is the downfall of the credibility of the so-called official timeline. Hey, thanks for watching! If you like this, check out my other videos, like the ones proving the finale of Death Note is mathematically impossible, or how Samurai Jack might actually be a villain. Anyway, this has been So You Think You Know, and now you do know.